The chapel was filling up when I arrived. I'd driven 4 hours through the rain. Mom had died 3 days ago. Heart attack, sudden. I was still processing it. My sister Julia stood at the entrance, greeting mourners. When she saw me, her expression hardened. "Back row for you," she said loudly enough that the family friends nearby turned to look. "Adopted kids aren't real family. Front rows are for blood relatives only." I felt my face flush hot. 30 years old, and she could still make me feel like the outsider I'd been at 7 when Mom and Dad brought me home from foster care. "Julia, I just want to." "Back row, Amanda. I'm not arguing about this." She turned to greet Aunt Carol, dismissing me entirely. Mourners stared as I walked down the center aisle. I could hear whispers starting. My cousin sat in the third row, looking uncomfortable but saying nothing. My brother Marcus was in the front row, his eyes fixed straight ahead, refusing to acknowledge what had just happened. I slid into the last row, next to the wall, holding my program with trembling hands. Mom's photo smiled at me from the front cover. She'd always called me her daughter. Never added the word adopted, just daughter. But apparently that hadn't mattered to Julia. The funeral director, Mr. Patterson, approached the podium. He was an older gentleman, professional and composed. He cleared his throat and began. "We're gathered here today to celebrate the life of Margaret Ann Sullivan, beloved mother, sister, aunt, and friend." Julia stood up suddenly. "Excuse me, I need to make a correction." She turned to face the congregation. "My mother had 3 children, Marcus, myself, and our biological brother who passed away in childhood. Any other persons present claiming familial relation should be recognized only as former foster children she showed charity to." The chapel went completely silent. I wanted to disappear into the floor. Mr. Patterson's expression remained neutral, but I saw his jaw tighten. "Mrs. Brennan, perhaps we could discuss." "No discussion needed," Julia said. "I just want everyone to understand the actual family structure." She sat down. Marcus stared at his hands. My aunt was crying quietly. Mr. Patterson adjusted his glasses and began again. "As I was saying, Margaret Ann Sullivan touched many lives." I barely heard the rest of the service. The eulogies blurred together. Julia spoke about Mom's dedication to her real children. Marcus said nothing about me at all. When it was time for family to view the casket, I waited until everyone else had gone up before standing. Julia intercepted me at the aisle. "Family only," she said quietly. "I just want to say goodbye." "You're not family. Mom took you in out of pity. That doesn't make you one of us." I looked at her, this woman I called sister for 23 years. "Mom loved me." "Mom felt obligated to you." "There's a difference." Julia turned away. I returned to my seat in the back row and sat through the final prayers. When the service ended, Julia announced the family would gather at her house for the reception. She made direct eye contact with me when she added, "Family only. Others can pay respects and leave." I left the chapel and sat in my car for 20 minutes crying. Then I drove to my hotel. That evening, my phone rang. "Mr. Patterson." "Miss Sullivan? I apologize for calling so late. I have some documents that require your immediate attention." "Documents?" "Regarding your mother's estate. Could you come to my office tomorrow morning at 9? I know the timing is difficult, but there are legal matters that can't wait." I agreed and hung up, confused. Mom's estate would go to Julia and Marcus. That's how these things worked. I was the charity case, as Julia had made abundantly clear. The next morning, I arrived at Patterson Funeral Home and Estates. Mr. Patterson led me to a small conference room where a woman in a navy suit was waiting. "Miss Sullivan, this is Catherine Price. She's the attorney who handled your mother's estate planning." Catherine shook my hand. Her grip was firm, professional. "I'm sorry for your loss, Amanda. Your mother spoke of you often." "Thank you," I managed. "I've asked you here because there are several matters that need your immediate attention." Catherine opened a folder. "First, as executor of your mother's estate, you need to review these documents and begin the probate process." I stared at her. "Executor? There must be a mistake." Julia would be. "Your mother appointed you as executor 18 months ago when she updated her will." Catherine slid a document across the table. "This is the official designation, witnessed and notarized." My hands shook as I read the words. Executor, Amanda Claire Sullivan. I'd never seen my full legal name written like that. Mom had given me her last name when the adoption was finalized. But why wouldn't she tell me? Catherine's expression softened. Your mother mentioned she wanted to avoid family conflict while she was alive. She knew this would upset your siblings. They're going to be furious. That's not your concern. Your responsibility is to execute your mother's wishes as she documented them. Catherine pulled out more papers. Now let's discuss the estate itself. The primary residence at 847 Maple Street is valued at approximately $650,000. Your mother also had investment accounts totaling just over $900,000, a life insurance policy for $300,000, and her business holdings. Business holdings? Your mother owned the property where her bookstore operated, as well as 2 other commercial buildings downtown. Those are valued collectively at about $2.3 million. She also had rental income from residential properties. I felt dizzy. I didn't know Mom had that much. She was a very shrewd investor. She started with the bookstore 30 years ago and quietly built a real estate portfolio. Catherine looked at me directly. Amanda, your mother's total estate is worth approximately $4.2 million. The number didn't seem real. As executor, you'll need to notify all beneficiaries, manage the estate through probate, and execute the distributions according to her will. Catherine pulled out another document. This is the will itself. Would you like me to summarize the major provisions? I nodded, unable to speak. Your mother left the family home to you outright. The investment accounts are divided with 60% to you, 20% each to Julia and Marcus. The commercial properties go entirely to you. The house, the businesses, but Julia and Marcus each receive financial bequests, as I mentioned. But your mother was very clear about her reasoning. Catherine flipped to a page marked with a sticky note. She wrote in her letter of instruction, and I quote, Amanda has shown true loyalty and love. Julia and Marcus have shown me what matters to them. And it isn't family connection. I leave the bulk of my estate to the daughter who chose to be my family, not the children who happened to be born into it. Tears spilled down my face. Catherine handed me a tissue box. There's more. Catherine continued gently. Your mother established a trust fund for any future children you might have. She wanted to ensure her grandchildren through you would be provided for. That trust is worth $500,000. She thought that far ahead. She told me you were the only one of her children who understood what family really meant. Catherine gathered the papers. You'll need to formally notify Julia and Marcus of the will's contents. As executor, that's your legal responsibility. I can be present for that meeting if you'd like. Yes, please. We scheduled it for the next day at Catherine's office. I called Julia and Marcus, telling them only that the attorney needed to meet with all of us regarding Mom's estate. Julia's tone was dismissive. Marcus's was neutral. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Julia arrived at Catherine's office dressed in expensive designer clothes, Marcus in a suit. They both looked surprised to see me sitting at the conference table with Catherine and Mr. Patterson. Why is she here? Julia asked. This is for actual family. Please sit down, Mrs. Brennan, Mr. Sullivan. Catherine's voice was professional but firm. I'm the attorney who handled your mother's estate. Amanda is here because she's the executor of the will. Julia laughed. That's ridiculous. I'm the eldest daughter. Nevertheless, your mother appointed Amanda. Catherine opened her folder. I'll read the relevant sections of the will. As Catherine read, Julia's face went from amused to confused to pale. Marcus leaned forward, his brow furrowed. This can't be right, Julia interrupted. The house is worth over $500,000. She's leaving it to her? Your mother left the house to Amanda, yes. You and Marcus each received $200,000 from the investment accounts. $200,000? While she gets everything else? Julia stood up. This is fraud. Mom would never do this. I assure you, the will is legally sound. I witnessed it myself, along with 2 other attorneys. Your mother was of sound mind and very clear about her intentions. Julia turned to me, her face red. You manipulated her. You convinced her to cut us out. I didn't even know about this, I said quietly. Liar. You spent the last few years poisoning her against us. Mrs. Brennan, Catherine said firmly, your mother updated this will 18 months ago. The document includes a letter explaining her reasoning. Would you like me to read it? Yes, Marcus said. His voice was tight. Catherine pulled out a handwritten letter in Mom's distinctive script. Your mother wrote, to Julia and Marcus, I am leaving the majority of my estate to Amanda because she proved what family means. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer 2 years ago, Amanda took time off work to drive me to treatments. She sat through every chemotherapy session. She called me every single day. Julia's face went white. Mom had cancer? You didn't know. Catherine looked up from the letter. She never told us, Marcus said quietly. According to her letter, she did tell you. She called each of you in March 2 years ago. Catherine continued reading. Julia told me she was too busy with her new house renovation to help. Marcus said he'd visit when his work schedule allowed but never came. Only Amanda showed up. Only Amanda cared more about my life than my money. The room was silent except for the sound of Julia's sharp breathing. There's more, Catherine said. I am leaving Amanda the house because she's the only one who ever treated it as a home rather than an asset. I'm leaving her my businesses because she understands that work should serve life, not the other way around. Julia and Marcus, I love you, but I no longer trust you with my legacy. Amanda earned this. You had every opportunity to show me what mattered to you. You chose to show me clearly. Julia grabbed her purse. I'm contesting this. No judge will allow an adopted child to steal a family inheritance. You're welcome to try, Catherine said calmly. But I should mention that your mother anticipated this. She included a no contest clause. If you challenge the will and lose, you forfeit your entire inheritance. Your $200,000 would go to charity. Julia's hand froze on her purse strap. Additionally, Catherine continued, your mother documented extensively. She kept records of every phone call, every text message, every time she asked for help. She has 2 years of evidence showing which child cared for her and which ones didn't. Marcus spoke up. I didn't know she was that sick. She said it was treatable. It was treatable. She's been in remission for 14 months, but she needed support during that time. Amanda provided it. You didn't. Catherine closed the folder. The estate is substantial. Amanda will inherit approximately $3.2 million in assets. You'll each receive $200,000. Your mother felt that was more than fair given your level of involvement in her life. This is because of the funeral, isn't it? Julia's voice shook. She saw what happened at the funeral somehow. Your mother died before the funeral, Catherine said. But she anticipated how you treat Amanda. In her letter, she wrote, I know Julia will try to exclude Amanda from family events. She's done it before. This is my final statement that Amanda is family. The most family of all my children. Julia walked out without another word. Marcus sat for a moment longer. I should have visited more, he said quietly. I should have been there. Yes, I said, you should have. He left. Catherine turned to me. Amanda, there's one more thing. Your mother left you a personal letter. I was instructed to give it to you after the will reading. She handed me an envelope. Inside was Mom's handwriting. My dearest Amanda, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're probably confused and overwhelmed. I chose you as executor and primary beneficiary because you chose to be my daughter every single day. Not because paperwork said so, but because you loved me. When I was sick and scared, you held my hand. You made me laugh. You reminded me why life was worth fighting for. Julia and Marcus are my children by birth, but you are my daughter by choice, both yours and mine. The world will tell you that blood matters most. I'm telling you that love matters most. You showed me more love than I ever dreamed possible. This inheritance isn't just money and property. It's my way of saying, you were always real family, the realest family I had. I love you forever, Mom. I sat in Catherine's office and cried for 20 minutes. Mr. Patterson brought me water. Catherine sat quietly, letting me process. What do I do now? I finally asked. You sign the executor documents. You begin probate. You take possession of your inheritance. Catherine smiled gently, and you live your life knowing your mother saw exactly who you were and loved you for it. 3 months later, the estate cleared probate. I moved into Mom's house. I kept the bookstore running. The commercial properties provided steady income. Julia never spoke to me again. Marcus sent a brief apology. I didn't respond. I set up a foundation in Mom's name, providing support for families dealing with cancer treatment. On the first anniversary of her death, I sat in her garden. The house was mine. The businesses were mine. But more than that, the love was mine. It always had been. Julia had been wrong about one thing. I was real family. Mom had made sure everyone knew it.